Welcome back, NAV Lab Podcast, episode 3 of season 2. Let's get into it. I'm Randy with Influence Media. I'm here with Luis and Andy. They lead the mentorship program here at NAV. How you guys doing? How we feeling?
Good.
Not bad. Happy to be on. I'm sure.
So excited.
Yeah, you guys love being on camera. I know. Awesome. Obviously, we have you guys on to talk about some mentorship stuff. So we're kind of discussing this before. Maybe the different ways people, when they get into real estate, kind of learn how to do real estate, right? I feel like I'm not the agent, so I'm just going to kind of rattle off what I would think. There's probably like stuff online where you maybe go through online trainings and stuff, which is super hands-off, not very practical. More of the traditional, like you go to college and read textbooks and try to do the thing, which isn't the most effective. But then what you guys can offer, where you kind of have mentors built into NAV, that take new agents under their wing and kind of show them everyday real estate. So, Luis, can you speak on maybe the difference and how maybe one versus the other might be a little bit more effective?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to theory versus application. Because, there's nothing wrong with going out, doing a bunch of research, reading books, doing a bunch of different things. I know that a lot of people watch videos, YouTube, subscribe to different mentorships online, online coaches, etc. But I don't know, personally, for me, anything that I've ever done, if I can get actual repetitions in it, I'm able to comprehend it more and also take my bumps and bruises along the way. And those suck, but whatever.
No, I agree. I've never, and I think as when you're like in college and stuff, and even like high school, I started to realize that, I think a lot of people realize this too, is like, it doesn't translate when you're just like in a classroom learning out of a textbook. Like getting that practical experience is just, it's second to none. Like if you're actually out seeing real world things, it doesn't compare. Andy, what about like collaboration? What if you're getting into real estate and maybe you have a friend that does real estate, he's been in it for a little bit. What's the difference between like collaborating with maybe like a friend or a co-worker, another agent, versus like having a real mentor that can help guide you in a different way?
Yeah, I think there's a time and place for both, right? Like the way that we started out in real estate, it was mostly collaboration. We didn't have a lot of educators and mentors to help us along the way. And so most of what we did was collaboration. The problem that we run into, and that a lot of agents run into, is collaboration is great because it's always important to hear the way that other people are speaking and doing things and pick up what you can to add into your own business, your own repertoire. But at the same time, there's no quality control, right? If you pick up something that you liked how it sounded, you start to use it, but it's not necessarily the right thing to be saying or the right way to approach something, then you get yourself into trouble. And so piggybacking on repetition, I was a baseball player for a long time, and we used to talk about it all the time, is T-work is great, but if you're not doing it the right way, you're creating worse habits, and you're actually getting worse as you do it. And so I think one of the main benefits of the mentorship program is having a quality check to make sure that our repetitions are progressing our career and not actually taking us the wrong direction.
For sure. I think baseball is a perfect example of repetition. It's literally just unlimited repetition.
Right.
The more reps you can get.
Right.
But anyway,
Wayne Gretzky.
what did you say?
Wayne Gretzky. It's the only athlete he knows.
It's true.
That's a good one to know. That's like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's safe.
He's like,
it's safe. Oh my god. It's very safe. Okay, mentorship. So, touching on kind of the first part of what you said, when you have collaboration, and this is kind of where I would say mentorship is a little bit different, right? Where collaboration, maybe you guys are kind of learning off each other and learning the thing as you go, kind of thing. Like, I think it comes down to experience. And I'll have you expand on it a little bit more. What makes a good mentor? What takes it from like, oh, I'm just kind of like a friend sharing my experiences. Maybe you learn something, maybe you don't. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. Versus like a mentor who like you actually can trust to help you give the right, or to help give you the right guidance to be successful.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is it like how many years you're doing real estate? Because, it probably isn't, but when do you cross over? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's experience more so than years, right?
Yep.
Years in the industry is not the same as experience, because if you're doing 4 deals a year for 10 years versus 10 deals a year for 5 years, it's different, right? So I think immersion in actual expertise is what's more important. And, a lot of like the reason why, we feel competent and confident in what we're teaching is because we didn't have a ton of that help when we first started. And so through collaboration, we talked about repetition, doing it the right way versus wrong way. Well, we did it the wrong way a lot. That's how we know now how to do it the right way. And so having somebody who can see the difference between what's right and what's wrong, right? It's all relative, but right versus wrong in terms of repetition, that's important. But the other side of that I want to touch on is what makes a good mentor is what you asked. There has to be a balance between knowing when to coach and when to help versus when to let somebody learn their own lessons and pick things up through trial and error.
For sure. On the collaboration side, I agree. I think that is part of the difference that we're getting to is 100% you're going to make mistakes early on. If you're with a friend or someone else that's kind of in the beginning too, you guys can learn off of just not only your own mistakes, but other people's mistakes as well. You're always learning. You stay learning. And I think that's where you kind of transfer over into that mentor role is when you have already made those common mistakes that so many people make early on. And now you can give insight to people that are newer and potentially going to make those same mistakes. Luis, speak on where the line is in terms of mentoring, training, coaching to be successful, but not overstepping in a way that you're like holding their hand and maybe setting them up for failure because maybe they don't know how to do it on their own because you're helping maybe too much.
I feel like this is a personal attack.
Elaborate. I want to know why.
Well, here's the thing. Is like we've actually had this conversation a lot recently. Is I feel like I love the program we built out. However, I feel like there's been so many instances where we've caught on now that we overcorrected. And because like take it in the teeth early on, so many times you have this like desire to help people avoid the same pitfalls that you had to do. But at the same time, where do you get to the point where that person also needs to feel that pain so that they can, be on the lookout for things coming and not get blindsided all the time? Because what happens is it puts them in a reactionary mode all the time, and then they're always looking for you for the solution. So in past businesses that I've run and teams that I've run, I had to really kind of start going back to this over the last couple of years. Was I always used to say to my team when they'd come to me and ask me, because before this I ran gyms for a long time, and on my lunch break it was like all the time. I'd be working out, someone would come up to me, X happened, what do I do? And it taught me to really start answering in the way that I used to answer. It's like, what would you do if I wasn't here? Right? And what I always tried to do is empower them to say, like, go make the decision. So long as you don't burn the place down, you don't disrespect somebody, and you're not unethical, we can recover from almost anything. I would rather you make a decision, fall flat on your face, and then own it, rather than not make any decision, and now I have to come back and retroactively fix this mistake that now somehow got bigger because of your lack of an action. So I kind of went off on what you originally asked me, but I think that's the line of not allowing people to take their hits and their bruises really holds them back from that mentality of problem solving. Especially as an agent, you have to consistently be a problem solver, because you're supposed to be the person who your client relies on to keep them level-headed, to make sure they're making informed decisions. But if you are, I was literally having this conversation with an agent the other day, is they came to me essentially ranting and raving about the other agent, right? Of they're being unreasonable, blah, 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 like I can't work with them. And hey, totally understand that, I get it. And I objectively agree with you. They're nuts. But you can't let somebody else's crazy make you crazy, because if you take that same energy that you just called me on the phone with and you call your client, this deal is going to fall apart. And if it falls apart because your client wants it to, whatever, that's no big deal. But if it fell apart because you heightened their emotion and they made an emotional decision, well, now it's on you.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And what are you going to go do to fix it? Oh, you didn't think about that, did you? Right? But they have to learn that, and they're going to have to lose clients, and they're going to have to do these things to be able to learn and say, like, oh yeah. We say it all the time, it's like people only learn through consequence, and I think in the last couple of years we've really tried to like honestly backpedal a little bit of the amount of support we give, because if we hand them everything, they just expect everything.
For sure.
Like, let's just be honest. It is
for sure. Yeah, allowing them to take calculated risks so that there is something to lose. You know, that's always gonna make someone perform better or do more or whatever. You know, you have your back against the wall a little bit. For sure. We don't have to go too deep down this rabbit hole, but I think similar, there's like a similar line to like parenting. And what I mean by that is like, you want to like protect your kids and like tell them right and wrong and give them everything. There's like the side of like spoiling them because you want to like, you know, give them what you never had. There's so many sides of it, right? But then it's like, now they're spoiled, now they're arrogant, now they're too protected, now they want to rebel, like now they have no experience, right? So I think it's very similar, and again, there's no right or wrong. Yeah. It's just always going to be a balancing act.
Oh, there's wrong. We've done.
Whoa, that's fair. I guess there are.
We wouldn't have to reevaluate everything we're doing if there is wrong. No, there's wrong.
There are clear wrongs. That's the good point.
Because as a parent, obviously, I'm not a dad, but I've thought about this a lot. Is like, how do you, as a parent, how do you give the natural impulse, right? Is you want to give your child everything you never had, but what's the balance between giving them what you didn't have, but also giving them what you did have?
For sure.
Which is the intangibles of whatever it may be, morals, work ethic, whatever you want to label it. And on the agent side, that's the same. It's like, how do we give them the experiences that we didn't get? I mean, it's not like we were thrown to the wolves, right? We got some support, and I wouldn't take back my experience, but these guys didn't get what we did get, which is that ability just to take it in the teeth and keep moving forward. Because I think resilience is one of the biggest, character traits that somebody can have to be successful in this industry, because this industry is brutal.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
I think like the other side of that is you want to protect your kids.
Sure.
But then how do they like learn how to handle the world? Because the world, it's not all butterflies and kittens and rainbows. Like bad things are going to happen. Same thing with agents, right? You want to protect them from losing a ton of money or losing client, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, like they don't feel that, or at least know that that's a risk. They're not going to perform the same. They're not going to act the same. You got to have something to lose. Awesome. So I guess that brings me to my next point. Do you believe mentorship, if done improper, and Andy, I want your insight on this, can be a negative? Can mentorship ever lead to like holding agents back in any kind of way?
Specifically in this industry, I think definitely. Piggybacking on the point that Luis just made, I think that's one of the biggest dangers is making this whole thing too process oriented and taking away, saying if you do A, B, and C, you're going to have success in this business. And well, then the agent just goes and does A, B, and C over and over and over, but never experiments to how do I negotiate better? How do I better communicate something? How do I better care for my client? Right? Because at the end of the day, what makes a truly great agent is someone who treats every individual client the way that they need and want to be treated, and also with the utmost care. But again, if this becomes too process based of just doing what you're expected to do, that creativity of finding what that means to each individual person goes away. And then also, again, just we don't all communicate the same way. We don't all behave the same way. And so trying to convince a new agent to say things the same way I say it or do things the same way I do it, aside from the things that need to be done the right way, it leads to a disingenuous experience because they're not communicating from a place they would typically communicate from.
For sure. I can speak to that too. All of the agents in NAV are so different. You know what I mean? Like everyone has their own personality. Everyone is going to have a unique way of doing their real estate business, whatever. But at the end of the day, I feel like some of the things that everyone always preaches is be genuine, put your client first. I think a huge part of, when you guys are mentoring and trying to set people up for success with certain scenarios and certain instances, there's so many things that can happen. So you got to be quick on your feet. You got to be a critical thinker. You got to be able to adjust and kind of keep your emotions out of it, and just kind of, at the end of the day, do whatever your version is of putting the client first.
Yep.
That's just from a non-agent. That's my perspective that I get from you guys. Awesome. So in terms of
we also, I know you're looking for the next one, but just
go ahead.
to add on to that is because I was thinking about it right now. Because literally before we started this, you just watched one of the agents come up and start talking about a situation they're going through, and my natural impulse was to just say, go do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Just go, right? But I have to check myself sometimes and just sit back and just listen, because obviously there was a lot of emotion right there, right? And how could I was like, how can I objectively help this person navigate this situation without just telling them, well, this is what you have to go do, because what is good mentorship and bad mentorship? Because I think sometimes people think that mentorship is I'm just trying to create a carbon copy of myself, right? To kind of Andy's point, it's how I would have handled that situation is completely different than how he should have probably handled the situation. So I was like, what advice can I give him so he can then
find his own way
to go about it, right? With acknowledging the frustration that he was feeling, which is warranted. It was warranted. I've been there. Right, and it sucks, but
no, that was a perfect example of what we're talking about, where it's he's coming to you for a reason. Obviously, you have been put in a mentorship role because and you've dealt with these things, and you find yourself trying to help someone find their way of handling a problem, while still giving, making it their problem. They still have to deal with it. They still have to do what's necessary, but you can give insight, you can give suggestions, but let them, and then he goes and does what he wants with it. Whether he does what you say or not, he'll figure it out. He's got to figure it out, and that's going to help him the next time something like this comes up.
Because I think I think earlier you asked something along the lines of when do you make that transition, right, to being a collaborator versus in a mentorship role or whatever you want to call it. Is I think it's that ability to take yourself out of it, right? Because on the collaboration front, you just tell them, well, this is what I would do, right? And then that's it, because you're just going off of your experience, which is fine. But that next step is being able to assess can I assess what this person actually needs in this moment without just telling them what to go do or how I would go do it, and then they're like, well, that doesn't work for me because
I actually like that. And I actually think that applies to your background, training. Training isn't one size fits all. It's just like agents. You're not gonna be able to just do the same cookie cutter workout for every person. Not everyone has the same, health, the same physical restraints, the same work schedule, whatever it may be. Same thing. It's not everyone's gonna do everything the same way. Okay, what I wanted to get into, I remember what I wanted to ask. So I want from each of you, Luis, we'll start with you first. I want something that you believe is very beneficial that you've implemented in terms of mentorship, and then some things maybe you've tried and a pitfall that you've maybe tried and you, like you said, kind of maybe stepped back from it, or maybe in other real estate practices that you've seen other people maybe implement that you just don't see being beneficial or don't help agents grow. So let's start with the positive first. That you, in terms of mentorship, I really love implementing this because of this reason. On the spot. And if you have insight too, if you want to.
Yeah, if you want to start first. You can go first.
Just throwing me over the then you can just steal his answer.
Yeah. I'm just going to piggyback.
Great. Can't wait.
Andy, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. On the spot, off the top of the head. There's a lot to sort through because there's a lot of aspects of real estate. So there's a lot of different things that we do. One that comes to mind because it's been a more recent development that over a fairly short period of time, we made many iterations to and have landed to a place where it now kind of flows. So I can tell you within that one example, both sides of it.
Perfect.
We've created a kind of structure to how our initial interactions with a client should be, to make sure that the client's needs are best served, and then make sure that we're communicating in an effective way each and every time. So we've created, here's generally how we meet somebody for the first time. Here's kind of some of the things that we should say along the way. Here's how we approach the process. Here's how we wrap up our conversations at the end. But we communicate in a way that's very clearly, this is a framework. This is not a script. And so in the beginning, the first iteration, I'd say we went a little bit too scripted. And so what we got is robotic conversations, right? Where I'm just trying to check the boxes and get the information I'm supposed to get, which again leads to a disingenuous experience to where the client doesn't actually feel like we're listening or like we care about where this is truly going. We're just checking our boxes that we think we need. So over time, in the different iterations we went through, we scaled back on that and made it a looser and looser framework of like, here's the things that you need to know as an agent to be able to best help somebody. But the way that they communicate that to you needs to come from a place of what's important to them. And so we've been able to scale that back to a way that works on both fronts, where we have a structure to make sure we know how to have an educated conversation, but at the same time leaves that freedom to just interact with somebody as an individual and get to know them and what their needs are.
For sure. So just for someone that's not an agent, what I receive from that is the importance of when you meet someone for the first time, how to ask the right questions, how to gather the right information, what to pay attention to is kind of something that is very important when you're when you're involved in a mentorship program. Awesome. Yep. What's the pitfall? What's something that maybe doesn't, in your opinion, work as well in a mentorship program?
I think so. The other side of that coin, right, is where we started of being too scripted, and it goes back to the point that Luis was just speaking on, piggybacking on you now, is that by doing that, again, we make it too process oriented, because every client that we interact with is different. And at the end of the day, like, one thing I want to make clear, the most important thing to us and our North Star behind every decision that we make is taking care of our clients and making sure that they have a positive experience and end up in a home they love. Not just any home, right? And we can't tell them if they love a home or not. And there's certain things that we need to know. But if I'm selling you a house, I need to know not only how many beds and bathrooms, square footage, location you need, but I need to know, like, what does an open layout mean to you? Do you share a bathroom with your wife that you need this extra space in the bed? Like, I need to know these things about you specifically. And so if we make it too process oriented, we lose touch with that. And so again, piggybacking on Luis's point, the other side of that, of going too far in mentorship, is making this too much about checking boxes and not about getting to know people.
No, I love that. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Luis, you got enough time to think now. Let's hear a different answer than that one. Making it too processed.
Well, it's hard because it's a lot of it. We could umbrella it under that, right? Of course,
for sure.
But I was thinking of something, because we had a lot of changes, especially over the last couple years, and what we really realized is a lot of what we used to do when it was just like us grinding as real estate, we just don't work the same way that work for other people. Exactly. So that lesson of like, you can't do it exactly the way I do it, right? Not because I'm amazing, but because just as it works for me. Like, I was like, the way him and I talk to people are very different. I'm extremely you guys know me, I'm a mess. Like, I'm very lackadaisical. My wife can't get a reaction out of me most of the time. It drives me nuts. But like, that's who I am.
And it works. That's your style.
But that's who I am, right? So what I do like though is as we've been going through these different changes, is what we really realized was we needed to stick to the fundamentals of what Andy was saying on the first meeting side, right? But then what happens afterwards? Because the reality is that you're not going to meet somebody and then they're going to be like, oh, I'm going to buy this house, right? Less than 1% of people buy the first house they ever go into, right? But what is the process after that? And we used to have a lot of honestly, like, just reach out to them any way you can and hopefully it works. And then same thing, we went too process oriented of like, here's every single script and how you have to do it every single time. That didn't work. But then it was like, all right, well, what are we actually trying to accomplish here as we're like doing follow-up? And I really like that we got to the point where like, well, the number one goal for our follow-up was just to be able to get in front of somebody again, to have them see, have more repetitions to have them see us as the professional, as the person that can help them, all these things. And so we tailored our processes to that. And I feel like with that execution and with that mindset, we've been able to have a lot more success of long-term conversion of clients, and just realizing that just because someone wants to see a home today doesn't mean they're going to buy a home today, right? It might be years down the road. But then, so part of that was the thing that we scaled back on is it's not about just focusing on who wants to go today. How can we really focus on this long-term game plan where it's a sustainable business model, not only for the agents, but stays true to the overall North Star that Andy was talking about, that we just want to take care of clients at the end of the day. Like, it doesn't matter what they want to buy, when they want to buy, etc. I just want to make sure that you're going to buy it from me
when they're ready.
And when they're ready, and I have to be able to prove that through action, right? Because I can say this all day long here or whatever other conversations, but until they see that and they know that Luis just isn't in it for a paycheck, and when they feel that, that's when it goes. Like, that's my source of pride of, like, when someone says, oh, this was extremely low pressure, etc. I'm like, well, good, that's how it should be. That's because buying a home is extremely stressful. I just want to take on as much of that stress for you as I can, if that makes sense.
For sure. So what I gathered from that is the right and proper follow-up with being genuine and being just aware of what your client's needs are, whether they're now or later. Can you give me one specific follow-up technique that you may use or that you tell new agents when they're coming through the program that is like crucial, that is just, you have to do it? It can be calling them once a week, it can be sending these emails, it can be whatever. What's a follow-up technique? Teach someone out here that watches this video what they absolutely have to do. When you're new to real estate, get in and do this.
Tell me.
Tell me.
I'll give you one that I've talked about a lot lately. What I try to tell a lot of newer agents as far as follow-up is make sure that you do what you need to do to learn as much as possible about your client early on in the process, so that every piece of follow-up that you do down the road adds value.
Time out. Can you be specific on that? How do you gain that information?
So, for example, one of the things that I often do with my clients, and there's again a lot of different ways to do it, but whether you're looking to buy a home in 6 months or 6 years does not matter to me at all. But what I want to do is make sure that in 6 years you're prepared to find the home that you love and that we're ready to go make that happen. I can't do that if I don't know what you're looking for. And so even if your timeline is 6 years from now, I need to do the right things in the first month or two to know exactly how you look at a home when you are looking at homes on Zillow, our website, or wherever it may be, so that if I reach out to you in 6 months, it's to say, hey, I found this home that made me think of you. I know we talked a lot about this open layout situation. For my reference, how does this feel to you? Is this something that's in the ballpark of what you're going to be looking for when the time comes? That way, over 6 months, every time I reach out to you, it's truly to make sure I know who you are, and that when the time comes, I can help you, because that's what's important at the end of the day.
100%.
For new agents who, hear, okay, you're 6 years out, well, then I'll follow up with you 5.5 years from now. Well, now you're just starting the process of, like, what did we do for 5.5 years?
And they bought a home 3 years before that?
Yeah, like, what do you know about this person? Yeah. Like, hi, if you forgot, my name's Andy. What was your name again? Like, that's not where I want to be.
For sure.
So as far as follow-up, it's just about, I guess to sum it up, understand your client well enough to know what they need from you over the next however long before they're ready, instead of just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping that something lands.
For sure. Awesome. All right, I had to try that out of you. Okay, cool. So,
wait, how come he doesn't have to go?
He passed it to you.
He said one.
No, I'd love to give some insight.
Unbelievable.
Teach a new agent out there one thing they have to do. It doesn't have to be follow-up either. Just actually teach them something in real estate. When you first get into real estate, give them a tip. One tip.
Go show them as many homes as humanly possible.
Okay. Am I hopping on some lead generator, or am I?
No, you gotta go. Anytime I meet any client, at some point in time, I'm gonna say the phrase, my goal is for you to see as many homes as possible, but you have to meet it.
Yeah,
right.
for sure.
Because if you're down the road 60 homes deep, you have to be down for that ride,
for
right?
Sure. You say that.
Because it coincides with what Andy was saying, is that you have to allow, like, buying a house is a massive thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how good a salesperson you are. I'm not going to convince you to throw down $500,000, right? Like, there's just no way.
True.
But if I just was like, you know what? In real estate, I'm your ride or die. Like, we're gonna go see as many homes as possible because I want you to understand what is out there for you in your price point. Because I've always said size, condition, location. Those are your three things. One of those things is always gonna float to the top. And you may think right now that size, whatever, let's just say size is the most important thing, but I guarantee you if we're at home 20, something is going to shift, and now is it size? Well, now it's really actually location. So if I give you the example, right? My wife and I are looking for a home right now, and I am dug in deep in this location. I don't want to leave my neighborhood. I've lived there for almost 14 years. I will not leave unless she leaves me. Like, that is the only scenario that gets me to first. Like, I will not leave my neighborhood because I love it. It's like I've grown, that's my home,
for sure.
Right? And so, what do I have to sacrifice? I either have to sacrifice size or condition. In my neighborhood, it's going to be size.
Yeah.
Right? And I can't tell you how many times a client has really had to have that in the moment realization of, like, they'll tell me I want to be in this location, etc., this and this, and then and I'm like, cool, let's go look at as many homes as possible, and then they start to figure out, like, oh crap, like, I'm not going to be able to do this unless all of a sudden I get an influx of money, right? Yeah. So by allowing people to do that, it puts them in a position where they are realistic in their own terms, but they really start to figure out what's actually important for them. But the most important thing, especially in these markets, because yes, the market's slower and all these things, however, our inventory is so low, there's not a lot of houses out there. And if you don't go out and see what all the possibilities are, you put yourself over a barrel to make a decision, and that's probably not going to be the best decision, right? How many people now have said that they've regretted buying homes in the last couple of years? Like, I pray I don't get that phone call, but hopefully with all the time that we spent looking, you know what's out there, right? And now you should feel good about this place, right?
Sure. Actually, just kind of going back to the sales approach you have, I think, I've never been in sales, but I think that's my approach too. Like, I'm not here to force you buy anything. Like, I don't care if it's a phone or a house or a car or whatever. Like, if you want it, you're gonna want it. Like, if you don't, you don't. I've never wanted to be like a pushy person, you know? Mm-hmm. I can show you everything possible. I can be there for you. I can support. I can care. Like, I can do the intangibles. But at the end of the day, I've never wanted to be like a pushy salesman, and maybe that just makes me a bad salesman. But I like what you said.
Let's change the mindset, because it actually brings up a good point, because I hear this from agents all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to be pushy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a difference. There's sales with ethics.
For sure.
Right? It's like we have this all the time. It's like, oh, I don't want to follow up because I don't want to feel pushy.
Yeah.
Like, is it that you don't want to be pushy, or is it that you don't want to have a potential negative interaction, right? Because, oh, if I don't do this just right, they're not going to work with me. Well, that more speaks to what you're actually doing, right? You're not pushing them to buy this house. You're not pushing them to up their budget. You're not pushing them to do any of those things, or you shouldn't be, right? Exactly. But you are giving them as many opportunities in this instance to go see as many homes as possible. Yes, I'm following you. I'm following behind you on this first tour not because I'm like, hey, you gonna buy it? You gonna buy it? Look at this awesome crown molding. Look at this. Yep. HGTV lied to you. Like, that's not how you tour a home. Like, no, I'm trying to learn about you, and that's why I'm asking you questions. Like, how does this layout actually work for you? How does this kitchen work for you? Who does most of the cooking? Is this enough counter space, enough storage space? Because, back to what Andy was saying, when I'm doing the follow-up, I'm actually giving you something of value versus just turning on an automatic home search and then hoping that I'm the person that you reach back out to, right? When you want to see a home. Well, that's not value, right? They're probably on 4 or 5 searches already.
Exactly.
And so that's to me, being pushy gets, obviously a negative connotation, which it is negative, right? But don't mistake being pushy for being assertive.
Yeah.
Right.
I even look at it, the way I was thinking about it in my head when you were talking right now, there's a difference between pushy or like being there. Like you're being there, and even a step further, I've heard you guys say this, even when we were doing videos and stuff, you need to be there when they're ready. Because at the end of the day, maybe they never buy with anyone ever. Okay, whatever. But if they do ever, 6 months, 6 years, it's with you, and that's the point. You want to be. You talked about be in their sphere.
Be in their orbit.
Be in their orbit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Be their little moon.
I've listened to that same clip 100 times now when I was editing your videos. But yes, exactly same thing. But yeah, I think there's a clear difference. But I think if I were to enter sales, I would have a very similar approach and mindset to how you laid that out. Awesome. You guys have killed this so far. Last kind of topic, and we can kind of take this wherever we want. Back on the topic of mentorship, is there ever a time to, is it ever too, how do I want to word this? If you've been in the industry 5+ years, 10+ years, is it ever bad to continue having a mentor? Is it ever too long? Is that a red flag? Is it ever too long? Does that make sense?
No.
It's never.
No, that doesn't make sense.
No, it makes sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That's what I'm gonna look at.
I understand. I was answering your question.
No, I know.
No.
Okay, yeah. If you're 5 years in, you still need a mentor. You still look for guidance from a mentor. Is that a red flag, or is that just?
Depends what.
Okay.
What you're looking for.
Yeah.
Right. If you're looking for someone to just give you all the answers, then yeah, get out of my face. But Andy and I have been doing this for a long time, and we still come to each other and talk things through. Me and Matt always come back and do it. Sometimes you just need a sounding board of but the way we approach each other is the inevitable goal that we want agents to be at is I come to Andy with something hey, this is what's going on. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm planning to do about it because of X, Y, and Z. What are your thoughts? And Andy can either go, yeah, that's probably the way you should handle it, or have you thought about this, or you're a moron. Don't do that. So that's just idiotic. I don't know what you're thinking. So that's that in itself. You should. Because I feel people should always reach out and be able to collaborate because you're never going to be the smartest person in the room. In the moment you think you are, it's over for you.
I agree.
Right?
That mindset, I have a similar mindset myself where I could know something pretty well, but I wouldn't say I would, if I'm coming into something with a new person, I play dumb, but I'm always trying to soak everything up. I might know a lot more than I'm leading on, but it's because I'm just I'm trying to gather as much information as possible. Exactly. But you can't get stagnant. You got to keep evolving, keep learning from anyone you encounter. Like you said, you might be the smartest person in the room one day, but the next you're the not dumbest, but everyone, and you're around seasoned veterans that are doing millions and millions of dollars with sales in real estate. So I just feel there's always opportunity to keep learning from other people, and I think maybe that's the difference of there's a maturity aspect, but if it's relying on that's where it can be toxic or it can be a negative thing. If you're relying on mentorship to do work or to evolve, that's where it can be bad. But if you're just constantly learning from people and progressing and evolving, I think that's where it can be beneficial to still have a mentor or mentor figure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, appreciate having you guys on. You guys are awesome. We haven't seen Luis in a while. Andy, we haven't got you on this first time, so welcome.
Thanks.
You're gonna be famous now.
I'm here.
We're definitely gonna have you on more because I like what you have to say.
If you can find me.
We'll have to pry Luis out of his office to get him on here more, but awesome. We'll get you guys out of here.
Cool.
We'll wrap it up. Like, subscribe. We'll catch you guys episode 4 next time. Peace.